Hey guys, what's good? Rodonsiger here, and this clip was submitted to me by two people. This was submitted by Link, and it was submitted by pMauz. We got Link on the Thrall. We have pMauz playing Lily. This is a ranked game. They wanted me to have a look at it, offer some advice, some tips and tricks, analyze and break down their video. Now this is going to be a little bit different from most of mine, because there are two individuals that I'm going to be breaking down. In this episode, we are focusing on pMauz playing the Lily. So, important things when you're playing Lily, especially in ranked against this sort of a team, is make sure that you avoid the Muradin and try and avoid all forms of crowd control as Lily. Otherwise, your 1000 Jugs ult is not going to be good. So, positioning is going to be key here. And we are going to hopefully be able to find something that we can help improve on as we go throughout the game. Now, again, a little bit different from usual, because I have not seen this game, but obviously when I do Link's version of it, I will have seen this game. So got a good little pick at the start, good bit of pressure, that's fine, but this is really bad, right? Right here, I just want to point this out. Yes, trying to punish a mistake, right? But here's the main issue that I can see, okay? When you're pushing this lane, you might have some idea of where everyone down here is in the minimap. That's absolutely fine. So you know where 4 people are. You know that there are 3 down bot. You don't know where Zeratul is, okay? Assume that Zeratul could be here. Yeah? Or he could be coming from up here, from down here, sorry. Either one of these ways, he can seek to punish you if he was there. Now, obviously, he's not there, so this is absolutely fine, but this is not a position that Lily wants to be in right now. We've got the Artanis who's available, who could go ahead. Thrall is not in any position to do damage. This is a really dangerous zone if you're going to try and push this kill, especially given that you don't know where the other member of where the other team enemy is. So even though that was a good exchange, just bear in mind this positioning much better. So again, you might know where everyone is now, and this is okay. But you're a little bit too far forward here. You really want to be on a straight line. You can see that there's this cross here. This blue line is evident of where it's just a guideline for me. But this yellow line is where the front line of battle is. Thrall is in the correct place. You are ahead of the front line. Now, if this was a team fight, or there was a potential for a gank coming in, you'd be a ripe target here. Just bear that in mind. Try and play in a little bit more of a safer position, especially given the fact that Lily has quite a bit of range. It's fairly straightforward for Lily to actually deal some damage from quite a far distance. It's good that you're applying the pressure. Just watch that little misstep there as you're pressing forward. So in Braxis Hold, it's very often difficult to identify an early win condition. If in doubt, your early win condition is always, and pMauz taking a little bit of unnecessary damage there, is always focusing on the objectives first and foremost. Okay, good positioning. Getting out, staying safe, staying behind the line, that's good. A huge misstep there, you moved all the way up right to here, and now you're forced to retreat. You notice that the Artanis is not in a position to help, the Thrall's not in a position to help, and look at the direction which they're facing. You can see that Artanis is looking up this way. He's, fighting off the minions. He's not really paying attention to the battle. The Thrall is running off to the side, which means that you are in a very dangerous position here. Again, you've seen Li Ming going missing from the bot lane, so it's not likely that she's going to come up here. But there is that potential, if they're retreating, that Li Ming could come up here, and if your positioning remains where it is, it's not in the best position. Just be very cautious of where you stand. So this is better. Staying in a fairly safe zone where you can still be useful. Good positioning on this one. Good positioning, good avoidance. Just need to make sure that you back out a little bit quicker. But otherwise, that was better positioning on your behalf. So Artanis is duking down. Thrall's gone in for an engage here. Thrall is in a very dangerous position here. You don't really want to be giving too much support to that, especially considering the beacons have now popped. They're going to be rotating to that, play towards your win condition. Thrall's made a misstep here. He's likely to be punished. Stay close enough so that you can heal, but primarily focus on this this objective rather than scrimming. So that's good rotation. That's not terrible, but there are 3 of you. You should be able to take this. Okay. So this is a little bit of an error on pMauz's part. So look at her health and mana. Right now, her health's fine. Her mana is really bad. Okay. If her mana was a little bit higher, then she'd be able to probably contest this a lot stronger, especially given the fact that Alexstrasza is on low mana and Malthael, I believe that's Malthael, is also on fairly low mana. Yeah, that's Malthael. I always get a little bit confused between Malthael and Oriel, and all of this, they all look the same. No racism included. Now, if your mana was better at that point, you could have contested and held for longer. There is absolutely no reason you shouldn't be going back towards the healing fountain at this point. Staying in lane here is not going to be the best thing. You can't continually heal. You're going to find it really hard to scrim. So, get back and make sure you utilize that fountain. Okay. Staying in range, but now you've noticed that everyone else has abandoned it. Be careful. They've got a little bit ahead on the Baraxis beacon. So just be careful of that. Now you're going back to get some mana, and this is why you should have gone back perhaps a little bit earlier when things were safer. Now, we've noticed that these guys have now made a play to go and get the objective. And being that that's their win condition at the start as well, you notice now that Artanis here, he's completely isolated. Thrall is not in a position. He's going to engage in here. But if you were still here with some mana, you could turn this around and make sure that this stays safe. Obviously, I don't know if this does remain safe, but try and not hesitate to go back and get mana. It's very often better for you to pop the healing fountain a little bit earlier for mana, rather than having to go back on there and it allows for this to happen. Okay, so top's being held, that's great. Artanis taking a little bit of unnecessary damage there. Now, one thing that I've noticed quite a bit that you're doing with this is you actually end up healing minions when you want to be healing tanks and other players. Now, this is a problem with Lily because her healing is automatic, but they have added a feature in where a little green icon will appear at the bottom of the player's feet or the bottom of the target's feet, who is going to be healed by the next brew. So you want to be careful because that's where a lot of your mana is getting wasted and going missing. You want to make sure that that little green icon is just on the player that you're trying to heal. Also, I do want to point this out. On Baraxis Hold, don't forget you've got these little pods here that provide you with an extra regen globe, and they respawn fairly quickly. There's no reason why, if you're running low on mana, or like the Artanis is running low on both, there's no reason why you shouldn't be juking up and grabbing them every single time. They're neutral, they're contestable, so yeah. And I really think, make more use of this. Look for the neutral objectives, make use of them. Okay, now I'm not really sure this is the best thing to be doing as Lily, okay? The lane is pretty much clear, okay? You know this, you've pushed Malthael back, you've prevented them from onslaughting, but look down in bot lane. They're really starting to struggle here. They're getting pushed back in. It's quite possible that they're going to be able to pick up a kill on Nyi here. And Ragnaros is going to have to go back. Yes, you can try and shove harder, but Lily is not a shover. She's a pure support. So really, at this point, knowing that it's been 2-2 this whole game, it might be a wiser idea for you to start rotating down bot lane, looking elsewhere. You're not going to be able to help much with this push. Thrall and Artanis have got this. They should be able to play safe. Your presence really isn't needed up here. Try and think, what is the best way for me to help my team? You staying up here is not the way to help your team. Good positioning here on the fight. Good positioning where you're sort of hanging there, but now they've fallen back. You need to make sure that you're getting back. Again, your front line of protection, if we're using this as a guideline from where they're going to be engaging, your front line of protection is therefore here. You're, again, out of position here. So when you need to pay more attention to when your teammates are running away, backing out of the fight, and washed in a team fight in an aggressive stance, your positioning is very good. In a fallback situation, it needs improvement. So again, good positioning here, and again, bad positioning here. This is exactly what I was on about. Again, your front line is now here. Thrall is your point of defense. So you being way out of position here just means that these two have the potential to then collapse in on you. And again, you may know where everyone is, but if there was going to be someone coming up from a gank, cutting you off either here or up through the brush here, you'd be in a really bad position. So whilst when you're making an offensive move and you're moving to support your team, you have very strong positioning. Your weak positioning is in getting out, and it might very well be that you're sort of tunneling in. Be very careful of that. Also, look at your mana. Again, there's no reason right now why you should not be popping up, getting this regen globe up the top, going back to the fountain, etc. Now there's a contestant on here. Good positioning. Now it's a 3-on-3, so let's start breaking this down. Li Ming's come from bot lane. She's now rotated up. This is now going to be very problematic. We'll see what happens. Again, now you've seen why this is detrimental. You've run out of mana, okay? So your healing is not going to be anywhere near enough and sufficient. But again, look at your positioning here. And I got to point this out, right? 1 enemy, 2 enemy, 3 enemy, okay? Again, we'll use the front line excuse. There's your front line. This is the direction that they're heading. Look at where you are. You are right amongst, you are the pigeon surrounded by cats right now. The best thing that you can possibly do at this point, with low mana and everything considered, you are not going to be able to hold this objective for very long. So the best thing that you can possibly do is get the heck out of dodge and get to safety. The quickest and safest possible way, you should not be in this position. Just watch that. Try and envision where your front line are. And again, this is one of those situations that I've been banging on about. When you're playing aggressive and your team is playing aggressive, you actually have very strong positioning. You know where to stand. But when they are in the retreat mode, you're still in aggressive mode. You need to try and differentiate between the two and when each is appropriate. So you did the right call, you got out. But now you've gone back in. Again, that's not very good. And again, perhaps you wouldn't have had to go back to the healing fountain at that point if you had gone it earlier. Because again, now that the aggression has actually started, the front line is here and you're well out of position over here. If you'd have had mana, if you would have managed your cooldowns just a little bit better, you would have been in a better position and you could have potentially taken this. Link's on full health. You've had, a teammate come up to try and help you out. If you'd have just been a little bit more conscientious of how much mana that you've got, you would potentially be able to take this without any real difficulty. So yeah, you really don't hesitate to get back your mana with the healing fountain. Good. Again, good positioning. Okay, you identified the 4-on-3. Good. That was a nasty misstep there. Okay. So, I'm going to rewind this just a little bit, because I really do want you to see this. So, as you come in, objectives captured, good. Look at your mana again. You've just thrown out a healing brew. You got a little bit regenning, but it's not enough. You haven't got a lot of mana at this point. You're in the fallback position. Your position is actually not too bad there. You throw out a blinding wind. Now, looking at the characters that you're going up against, that's not the smartest move. Muradin isn't going to be doing a substantial amount of auto attack damage, and whilst Alexstrasza is in her dragon form, she is going to be primarily building around her abilities. So there's no need for the blinding wind here. Misstep on the positioning again. Because you're too aggressive, you play a very aggressive support, like sort of role. You need to tone down the tunneling a little bit and realize where your front line is and where you need to be in a retreat or a fallback position. The re-engage is good, and again, your positioning's fine for the re-engage. You're taking unnecessary damage here within the cone from Alexstrasza. Okay, but that's not necessarily the point that I'm worried about here. The point which I'm worried about is the mana consumption. Continue to watch that as we go through things, okay? So now Artanis has come in. This is a 4v3. You make the decision that you're going to push on through and guarantee get this objective. Good positioning. Another blinding wind thrown out, not necessarily the best thing to do. Again, the auto attack damage isn't really there. Yes, Malthael is juking up to come and help you guys, but right now, not the best. You've thrown out another healing brew, your mana's getting even worse, and you can see now that Xul has got his snare on the Artanis. Now, as you move up, you pop out another healing brew. That's the correct thing to do. Another blinding winds. And now look at where your mana's at. This regen globe has been untouched. This entire laning phase. And now you're out of mana. Good route by the Thrall may have saved the Artanis there. And you've just got the regen globe from the enemy's wave. Another healing brew. And another healing brew. Good, but it shouldn't have gotten to that point. Artanis really should have been punished harder there. He should have died. What really saved them there was the Thrall snare. Okay? The blinding winds, you don't need to do them. You may not know if the team is building an auto-attack build or not, but regardless of that, blinding winds is only used when you need to be fearful of any auto attack damage coming in. If anyone is auto attacking a lot onto someone, then fine. But this team is not one that you need to be using these blinding things on. Your healing serpent and your healing brew are going to be the two biggest benefits to you at this point. So watch out and try and think how they're going to attack. What is the best possible thing for me to do? Can I start just spamming Q, spamming my healing brew to get people up? Or do I actually need to use that blinding wind? If you don't need to use the blinding wind, and most of the time in this you won't, don't use it. This is what is kind of really screwing up your mana consumption here. Again, another unnecessary blinding wind. You need to keep your healing brew as a primary for your mana. And again, your mana is exceptionally low here, and yet again, this regen globe completely untouched. Now, here's the issue. You're moving and attacking this. I'm not sure why people do this, unless there is a real reason why that would be a block. Maybe Muradin's been jumping over it. I can understand in that respect. But in this respect, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, okay, against 2. Now, you're already pushing the lane. You're already shoving it hard. You've got 3 people there. Let's look down in the bot lane. You've still got your Zerg pushing through. But it's Ragnaros now against 2. You don't know where the 5th member is. Assume they're going to go and try and hold off that win condition and go down to the Zerg. The correct thing for you to do here is get a little bit out of your comfort zone, go back to base, get some mana, and then rotate down bot as soon as possible. You're not needed in the top lane. It's not contributing anything towards the team at this point. You're just sort of being idle. Because as you can see, all you can do is auto-attack here. You can't heal. You can't Blinding Wind, you can't Serpent. You can barely keep yourself up when that tower was pushing on you. And now Artanis is there. Because he sees you as a 4th body, he's probably playing a little bit more aggressive. It's 4v2. He thinks he can get the kill, right? You're running on such low mana, you actually are being a detriment right now. Finally, you've popped up and grabbed that regen globe. Good. It's a shame that wasn't earlier. Now, 3v2. How you're going to handle this is going to be crucial. You stay in a safe point. That's good. Got Ragnaros' Flame Wave coming down the way. That's good. You've now got your mana back. You're actually useful. You're in a good position. A little bit late there on the ult, but it is what it is. You also need to make sure you've been 10 for a while. You haven't picked up your ult yet. You need to make sure, because your ult's the big one, and you're currently running without it. Rookie mistake there. Again, good positioning. That Blinding Wind's really unnecessary. Again, you don't need to be throwing it out. That wasn't a bad Blinding Winds at all. That was probably one of your better ones. Okay, I do want to point this out. You're low on mana. You sticking around is not helping out. Get this healing fountain. Okay. Take your ult. Again, rookie mistake. You've not taken your ult yet. You know, your choices. You've got Jug of 1,000 Cups, which is usually going to be a better one for you in this one. Given the only CC seems to be Muradin, like hard CC. It's a very bursty comp. Now, also, the beacons are about to be activated. You've already got that push down in bot lane. There is no reason why you should not be rushing and pushing and holding these objectives.
Make haste toward the beacons. They're up and running.
Again, you've got no mana. Now, again, you're coming up here, and that's good. But look at what's happening down here. It's a 3v2. You wouldn't have needed to come up here to grab mana at this point if you'd have grabbed it earlier. If you'd have backed out, given up the lane, you didn't need to be there. It's only a 2-lane map. You can afford to go back to base on this one to get your mana up because there is not that pressure on you in the lane. You juking up at this point is a bad mistake. Yes, you need mana. If you can't tap, but you should have come and got that earlier. Okay, good. You've ensured that you've got the objective. Again, bot lane's pushing really strong. This is going to be your chance to dominate these lanes and then get the top lane. Just hold on to this for that Zerg wave. Again, you're shoving right now, not the best thing to do. You don't need to be in that lane. Also, I've noticed that you've not mounted up once yet. Try and mount up more.
Emergency! Scores of Zerg are inbound on our base. Exterminate them immediately!
Good positioning on the fight. Okay, now you've got a real problem on your hands. It's a 4v2. You're already in the right position. You're in a good position. This is actually really unique because most of your passive defensive positioning has not been strong. But you're actually going in a good position here. You're going to move away from it. That's absolutely fine. At this point, Artanis, if they chose to jump on him, would be really fucked. Ragnaros is juked up. That's good. Okay, you can also see another teammate's pushing up as well. You've got no push in the bot lane, so there's not that pressure there, but you've got this huge Zerg wave that you can capitalize on. Now, it's a shame because in any situation, the most you're going to have throughout this Zerg push is a 4 on 5 because Thrall has died and he had to go back to base. So just bear that in mind. Use the Zerg rush to apply as much pressure as you can and then be prepared to get the hell out because if they've got the health, they will engage and they will quite potentially win, even though they are a talent point down. Also, you've finally taken Jugs of 1,000 Cups. That's good. Don't hesitate to use it if you feel like you need to. So good positioning. Brilliant positioning. A little bit late there on the Jug of 1,000 Cups, I feel, and I believe you just cancelled it. I've got to watch this again. So your positioning's good. Again, an unnecessary blinding, I feel, there, but we'll ignore that for now. You pop Jug of 1,000 Cups here. At 11:41. At 11:44, it's gone. You must have cancelled that. I didn't see any sort of crowd control. Press it once, calm down a little bit. Just calm down. Playing a little bit too aggressive. You got very lucky there. You had no minion wave shoving up. You were in a very bad position here. Okay? Be very careful of that. Okay, so you got 2 enemies slain, but remember there are no minion waves that have pushed up as of yet. Be careful when trying to push this tower. A lot of unnecessary damage here being taken. Again, because of these minion waves. Good positioning here. Okay. So 2 of your guys are backing out. The other 2 are getting ready to back out. You need to be prepared to do so as well. You're in a little bit of a bad position here. It's not the worst. But bear in mind where your other teammates are in relevance to where you are. Okay, you're backing out. That's the correct thing to do. You've not mounted up again.
Eliminated.
You must remember to mount up.
Goodness, we live another day.
Good, you've recognized that you need to get that. That's good. Thrall will be fine. Absolutely correct. I was worried there for a second you'd play aggressive again. Backing out there was a correct move. Now this I'm not so sure about. Yes, you're following Lincoln when he makes that aggressive play. But again, look at your position. You knew, and actually I'm gonna rewind this just a tiny fraction. Boom. Now you knew that there were 4 people here from the engagement. Let's see what you would have seen. So you now see only 3 of them. You now see only 2 of them. You now only see this one. You only see Xul. You know that there were 4 in your lane. You don't know where the others are. You know that Muradin is down in bot lane. You don't know where the others have gone. And now you're in a terrible position. You've got enemy here who could easily collapse in on you. Xul, if he turns to fight, along with Storm here, they can all just collapse in on you. And look where you are. Right here. When you know that people have... And this is something that might be a little bit advanced. Because I don't see a lot of people doing this. But you've got to bear in mind that when someone has gone off of a lane, they're only going to be going down this way. Yeah? Your reactionary position should be up on this side of the map, where you can still heal, you can still harass, but you've got that clear get out sign if you feel like you need to. And in this case, if you'd positioned yourself on the top side of the map instead of at this bottom side, you would have been in a better position. Now you want to be getting the hell out of there because there are 3 of them. It's not guaranteed that one of you would die, but it is a risky situation to be in. You needed to identify that a little bit quicker, but now you're starting to recover and get into a better position. You managed to turn that around, but I think that was a lot of effort from the Ragnaros ultimate. Now, question is, what are you doing here? I can tell you what you're not doing. You're not mounting up. You might be heading towards this fight here. Okay? And that's absolutely fine. Artanis is disconnected. That's really unfortunate. But you can still win this game. You're still ahead. You've got your win conditions intact. You've got a strong push down at bot lane. You've got top lane tower on half hit points. You're in a strong position here. You need to move quicker, mount up, and get on in there. Not sure why you're sort of hovering around here. That's a better ultimate. That is a better ultimate. Good positioning. Okay, now this isn't actually a lost battle here. Okay? Yes, Link has died, and they've applied some pressure, but look at their health. Look at the fact that Storm actually has no mana on his character, and that the boss has been pulled. Now, this is really dangerous position for you to be in, being that you are right here. Again, your front line is all the way back here. Yeah? That's going to be their angle of attack. This is where your front line is. You're out of position again in a retreating sense. So just be careful of your positioning. Be a little bit more mindful of where you stand. At the same time, these guys should now be turning in, and really, you should be where they're stood, and they should be where you're stood at this point, because there's no reason why you can't take this fight and then even potentially grab the boss off of the back of it, and then start rotating towards objectives. Artanis is almost up. This is something that you can come back from easily. Good punishing. Now watch it here. You're actually the closest person to the boss. You are taking unnecessary damage at this point. You don't need to. Good. Now the boss pressure is really going to help here. You're not behind, so you don't need to worry about the minion wave that's coming up in top. Bot lane pressure is also good, so make sure you get these 2 objectives. Okay, risky. Not sure why you've gone around this way. I don't know what your logic was coming down this way. Because someone could come from here, someone could come from here, someone could collapse up into you here. I know from looking at the minimap that they're there. Obviously, you wouldn't have been able to see that, but this is not a good path to be going when you've done the boss. At the end of the day, if you've got a boss and you've got to rotate down to objective, the best path is always the safest one, going through there. And then moving your way down to the objective that way. You don't need to be where you're at right now. This is really risky. This is an unnecessary risk. There we go. That's better. And just as well, because look at what happens. So you're very fortunate that these guys haven't collapsed in on you. Because again, look at your position here. Look at their position here. Look at where your front line is here. Again, just like beforehand, you are a pigeon amongst the cats. Watch where you're standing, watch where you're moving. Okay? They should be punishing you hard here. And when they finally did recognize that they should punish you, fortunately you managed to get out. Good use of the ult to keep the Artanis up, that's good. Now, there is not one reason why both of these objectives cannot be yours now. You want to be focusing on hard pushing the bot lane, but look again at your mana. You really need to focus on your mana consumption, how much you're using, how much you've got left. Don't be afraid to back out. You're going to be no use with no mana. And you should be able to win off the back of this. Your win condition is met at this point. You've got 100% Zerg, you've got the boss pushing up. There is no reason why you should not be able to win this game off of this. Yeah, but your Ragnaros is already identified. You've met your win condition. And there we go. You identified your win condition. You met your win condition. Brilliant. Well done. Now, obviously, you picked up the win, and that was great. Glad that you hit that win, especially in a ranked mode. I do want to point out a few points in which you need to improve then. So your first point that you really need to improve on is knowing your positioning. From looking at your character's position within the game itself, it seems like you're more used to playing a warrior type class, a melee DPS, someone who can play those sorts of aggressive roles, as opposed to playing a support. It might be that focusing more on a warrior-oriented playstyle is actually better for you, in which case Lily is not the right healer for you. Try someone like Karazim. Watch where your positioning is in relation to, are you being aggressive or are you being defensive? If you are being aggressive, your positioning wasn't actually too bad. But it was when the times when you were being aggressive and everyone else was trying to get out, that was where your positioning really messed up. You need to always be, especially as a support, going the safest possible path. And you were lucky, and it hurts me to say this, but you were lucky in 2 or 3 of those cases that they didn't punish you for the mistakes and the missteps that you'd made there. Because if they had have done, that game could have been very, very different. So your positioning needs work. You need to think, where am I safe? Where are my other teammates? What are they doing? How can I keep myself safe? You took a lot of unnecessary damage there, and it was all down to just where you were standing. Not necessarily your skill level, not necessarily the skill level of the enemies, purely on where you were standing in the lane, in the team fights, during pushes, during retreats. Okay? Be mindful. And again, I'll use this as an example. So if the enemy team is located here, here, and here, and your primary tank is here, and your damage dealers are here, the place where you want to try and visualize, okay, is they are all going to be going in a straight line this way, okay, and your front line is going to be consisted of the earliest possible target that they can intercept, okay. So your front line is here. Therefore, your positioning needs to be here, where you're covered from all angles, where you can make the easy retreat, where you can loop up around the top if someone comes in from a gank down to the bot lane, or where you can loop down around the other side if someone comes in from a gank down from top. Your positioning really needs that sort of a work. It's okay to be aggressive, but not at the cost of the hit points that you're having. And second of all, you really need to control how much mana that you've got. There's no shame in using the healing fountain as much as possible, so long as it's giving you the maximum possible benefit of 100% mana, 100% health from the ticks. Making sure you get those regen globes. Don't be afraid to leave lane to go back, especially to go back and get mana as a support, because that's huge. Okay. And last but not least, the one thing that I would like to say is that you stayed within your comfort zone. You stayed in top lane. You stayed pushing top lane, and you didn't really sort of duke down. Never once did you go into the bottom lane. You didn't try making a push for bot. You didn't rotate to the bottom objective. You only honed around that top one. And it's very easy for you to fall into this comfort zone where I can just stay in my lane, I can get the XP, I can control this, and I can control that. And that's fine. But if the other areas of the map needs pressure or needs assistance, you need to get your ass down there. It might be that your players are in the other lanes are actually good enough to sustain that, but that is relying on someone else, and you can't rely on something that's out of your control. So 3 points of improvement: positioning, mana, how much mana you've got left and how much you're using, and make sure that you rotate when you feel like the enemies are hounding you in another lane, when you need to contest that bottom objective, when you need that support in the other lanes. So that's your points of improvement. This has been Master Tier Coaching. Thank you very much. The next video will be going through the exact same gameplay, but from Link's perspective, and we're going to focus on what Link was doing wrong, what he was doing right, and try and ascertain some areas for him to improve. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you want to send in your clip, feel free to send it, and I will be more than happy to sit here and analyze your clips and try and provide some areas where you can improve. Until next time, take it easy. Peace.